There we go. Hello guys, Nika here with your daily neuro nugget dose. But before we get started, I want to remind you guys, I am an overworked, underslept person who works 2 jobs and often films in between jobs. So of course I'm going to make mistakes. I am human. And when I upload a video, I always listen to it soon after and I try to catch my own mistakes. And when I do correct them in the description box ASAP. So if you catch something is off or I made a mistake, go check the description box. It's probably likely I've already corrected myself. But if I haven't, let me know. If you let me know respectfully, that would be great. I love when we all hold each other accountable. And that includes you guys holding me accountable as well, because we are all human. And by the way, I wanted to remind you guys, this is for entertainment purposes only. I am a regular person with regular jobs. I'm not a detective. I am not a lawyer. I do have a psych background and a science background, but that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we are all here speculating about this case. We are here to talk about potential outcomes of this case and to point out things that seem off. But again, at the end of the day, this is for entertainment and this is speculation and theorizing. So keep that in mind, because a lot of you guys got upset yesterday when I said Steve had an autopsy, and that was me speculating. I'm assuming if I were in his shoes and had his finances and had said the words that I don't trust LE, Moscow LE, because they don't know what they're doing, I would go and do that. I would go and get an autopsy if I didn't trust Moscow LE, because why wouldn't you get a separate autopsy? So remember, speculation is allowed. Speculation is a thing. And keep that in mind when I'm making these videos. That being said, it is necessary, in my opinion, that we speculate about possible suspects that may have been covered before when the crime took place. These people had been talked about and very quickly just crickets. And one of the men I want to talk about is James Curtis Leonard, because his background is extremely shady, first of all. And James Leonard lived 1.2 miles away from the girls. Yeah, very close. James Curtis Leonard had a history of unaliving people and had been in jail. He was supposed to have gotten, I believe it was 5 to 15 years, but the judge reduced it to a 5-month probation. How does that happen? I don't know. But on December 7, 2022, he got sent to jail again. Very close timing to the crimes. But the first thing I saw in his picture when he got taken into Moscow jail, later county jail in Moscow, was the Koban. I saw the Koban wrapped around his arm and I'm like, that's weird. Because they did say that the person who had unalived the 4 victims probably would have some injuries. So is it possible that under there may be some injuries? Bad injuries, maybe knife injuries? I think it's good that we speculate on that as well. But we're gonna go straight to the affidavit here, and I will attach it so that you guys can go through it yourselves, because it just hits different when you see it yourself, when you go through his offenses yourself. This is a bad person, in my opinion. I mean, he's unalived somebody before. He got his sentence massively reduced and still effed up. And then got sent back to jail. So this is what he got in trouble for December 7, 2022. Let me know if any of that sounds kind of odd, because I think there's a lot of oddities. Count 1, domestic battery with traumatic injury in the presence of a child. What does that tell us? it tells me that he probably doesn't care about his actions. Sounds like he's impulsive, explosive, reactive. Most of us would probably hold back if there were children present, even if we were very angry. By the way, this all started because he thought his girlfriend was cheating on him because he assumed that she was texting another man. And even if she had been, it doesn't give him the excuse or the right to do what he did. So that's the first count, domestic battery in front of a child. So he doesn't care. Count 2, aggravated assault. This is the one that really stood out to me. Threatened by word or act to do violence to the person with a deadly weapon or instrument, a knife, which created a well-founded fear in that such violence was imminent by following her with a knife in hand in a threatening manner. So count 2, aggravated assault, he likes to chase women with knives. Red flag. So he has knives and he likes to hurt women or chase them with knives. That doesn't look good to me. That to me looks suspicious right from the get-go. Count 3, attempted strangulation. Unlawfully choked or attempt to strangle a household member by placing his hands on or around neck or throat and applying pressure. Oh, so he also likes to try to strangle people. Count 4, injury to child, felony. Injury to child is a child under the 18 years of age whose date of birth is redacted to suffer or did willfully inflict physical pain or mental suffering by repeatedly kicking, punching, and or striking. Okay, so this guy likes to beat children, try to strangle people, chase women with knives, and what was the first one? Oh, aggravated assault. Yes. Sounds like a bad freaking person to me. So I'm thinking, okay, did Moscow Ellie question the wounds? Did they actually verify or did they just take his word? Because per the affidavit, in my opinion, it sounds like they just took his word. So here you have a convicted criminal. The officer asks him, what happened to your arm, sir? Because the girlfriend said that he had cut himself, like he had a history of cutting, supposedly. And I actually don't trust her, and I'll tell you why later. I think that is her way to protect him. When James Leonard was asked about the cuts, he said he fell and the gas tank on his truck fell on top of him, which is how he got the large cut on his arm. The officer said, I pulled out the green automatic knife, which I took off his person, opened the knife, and showed him the blood on the tip. James said the blood was his, but denied cutting himself. James also denied striking, saying the only incident that occurred was when he was arguing. So he basically lied about everything, right? He's saying none of the physical violence that he committed against the people in this home, he denied everything. It said his answers to my questions did not make much sense and were very contradictory to the theories and stories being told by the other involved parties. James finally invoked his Miranda rights, and I told James he was under arrest. So I'm going to correct myself here. The girl that said he had a history of cutting is not his girlfriend. It looks like it's his wife, and they were married for 5 years. But the biological daughter that was present in the home is not James. It's hers. It's her child, who he hit several times with a closed fist. And in one of those strikes, he held the knife in closed fist. So to me, it's like, okay, you have this guy who has a horrible history, is lying about doing these horrible things when everybody else in the home was present and said, yeah, he did it. He has unalived people in the past. it's just interesting to me that Moscow LE ruled out these people, in this case, James Leonard, who had knives. Not only that, but he was under the influence when this took place. I believe he had marijuana and alcohol in his system. What do you think? Do you think that James Leonard should be looked into more deeply? Did Moscow LE actually look into him, or did they just take the words of his wife? So this is what his wife said. His wife said something along the lines of, people online need to stop harassing us because he would never do such a thing. He was with me the night of the crime, and then he went to work at 7 a.m. I don't understand why people just won't leave us alone. And I don't want to be that person, but I'm going to be. Someone needs to be. But ma'am, you willingly decide to continue to associate yourself with somebody who's a known criminal. He has unalived people. Do you think people are not going to speculate? I think we're allowed to speculate. And if she wants to protect him, saying that he would never commit such a horrible crime, that he's really not a bad person, ma'am, look, I'm not gonna be a therapist on this platform, because that's not what I'm doing here. But for someone to say that this man is a good person, well, that is extremely biased. He literally gave you potentially a concussion per the statements of this officer. He beat you, you were hospitalized for however long, you were bruised, you were in pain, slurred speech after being violently battered by him, and you're going to go out of your way to say that he's a good person. He could just never do something so horrible. He's already unalived someone. Haven't even talked about that case yet, nor am I going to. You guys look into that story if you want to. And when I first heard about this guy a year ago now, I thought, no, I don't know. He seems like a bad guy, but they are saying that the crime scene was someone who was intelligent and sophisticated, and they knew what they were doing, and that they probably have done this before. But now it's been a whole year. What do we know? We know that whoever committed the crime probably has never done it. More forensic investigators have come on the television and have told us this looks like it was planned, that they knew the house well, but it was likely their first crime, at least their first crime at this level, because the scene was messy. In my opinion, somebody who would commit such a crime is somebody who is impulsive, reactive, could be using substances, such as James Leonard when he committed these crimes here in this affidavit. So it's just something to think about, because in my opinion, it is essential that we talk about all the people that could have been potential suspects that were just cleared way too fast. Not to mention, this man had knives. I just wish that the affidavit stated what type of knives, but he's obviously violent, he's obviously impulsive, he obviously uses substances, had a wound on his arm. We don't know how or who inflicted it, but it's just something to think about, because this case continues to drag, right? it's essential that we refresh our minds. And I had forgotten about James. But food for thought. Let me know what you think of the video down in the comment section. Let me know if there's another suspect, potential suspect. Maybe there's someone that you think should be investigated again. I think there's a couple people that should be investigated again. Is it possible that James Curtis Leonard was stalking the victims for a long time? He was only 1.2 miles away. Is it possible that this was one of the stalkers that one of the victims was concerned about? I think it's possible he was nearby. A lot of things are possible, but the fact that he was so close, the fact that his criminal history is horrible, his whole record is horrible. Is it possible that this guy stalked him? Maybe knew the house? Went on to use his favorite substances and exploded as he did on his wife and her child? Had his wife not called in time, is it possible that he would have gone completely berserk and maybe unalived her with a knife? I mean, the affidavit says he was chasing her with a knife. So again, food for thought. Let me know what you think about in the comments down below. I gotta get ready for my other job. And you already know, I got the script pants on the bottom. So you guys take care, have a good night, and your daily kiss, of course. Take care.